This is another tricky intersection similar to 93 north of Golden. There's a blind turn up there that crests and you don't see the cars very well. But FSD saw that one, no problem. Sun glare is, of course, no problem for this thing. Hell, I can't see. Sir, I guess we're going to the car wash after. I touch the steering wheel so little these days, I sometimes forget the buttonology of it. Check out these low-hanging clouds over the Flatirons. That's really neat. Rear fan on. Make sure the dogs get some air back there. Is that right, full self dog? Getting a breeze now? Gosh, thank you. You're welcome, buddy. Alright, look at that. That's so cool. Are on display. If anybody's watching this, and I doubt they are, wondering why my battery is so low and I'm concerned. I deliberately set the charge limit on this car to about 50%. That's sort of in this trough of optimal state of charge for NMC batteries is to keep them about 50% and then to have the smallest gap in between charging, although I'm making a rather large gap going below 20 here. For EV drivers that are fairly new, they probably get anxious, get range anxiety under 20%. I imagine that is true for the majority of cars out there, but if you're in a Tesla, you never really think about it, because if you're going somewhere and you just don't have enough, the car will automatically route you to the nearest charging station, and if you're on FSD, it'll actually do that without you intervening. So if I set a destination that we could not possibly reach, the car will just automatically like, oh, I'm going to take you there first. Go plug it in, which is really nice. But the sweet spot is about 40 to, I think maybe 30 to 60 or 70% for the best longevity. That's where you get the least electrolyte breakdown, the least lithium plating. Basically everything about battery health is better. That's why most car companies that are competent in this regard recommend a charge limit of 80% for NMC batteries. It's not true for LFP. You can charge them 100% routinely. But 80% is right where the curve starts to show an inflection point of battery degradation. This advice is especially good if you live in a hotter climate. Having a battery in a high state of charge where it's pretty warm degrades it faster. Engineering explained, even though he is guilty of what's the word? Oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Apostate? No, what's the word? Shit. Okay, my vocabulary is failing me. Even though he doesn't like Tesla anymore because he claims that Elon Musk personally fired his wife, which is not true. He has an outstanding video about this that everybody should watch if they care anything about the life of their batteries with the science behind it. Anyway, keeping your car at a lower state of charge on average is better for the battery health in the very long run. Now, does it matter that much? I mean, we're talking like percentage points over a decade. It's really not that much. But I'm a big dork and want to see how far I can stretch out the life of this battery. I want this car to be in the 200,000 mile club. We're a little more than half of the way there. Yay. For those new to FSD 14, that's a new feature that was introduced with this release, is that the model is now trained for parking scenarios much better than before. 13 really couldn't. If you ever documented or saw documentation of 13 parking itself, that was an anomaly. This is a statistical model, after all. So it's not impossible, but it's not probable that it would park itself in a space. Anyway, you can give it arrival instructions. For example, say like just drop me off at the curb or find a parking lot. In this case, I want to park on the street. There's, at this time of day, there's adequate parking in front of OZO Coffee. Actually, we'll not be going to Tesla Superior later. Our next destination will be my favorite car wash. I have to say I'm a little embarrassed by that number. My wife's car is over 90%. I think it's 91. But I do a lot of driving for fun. I'll just go out and rip it up in the mountains for no particular reason. And that lowers my FSD score. there's a Subaru WRX from between the years, I think 2014 to 21. That is the car that inspired me to get on the Tesla bandwagon. At some point, and by the way, I did not beat this car. I drove it with enthusiasm, but it had never been to the track. I didn't launch it from every stoplight. Got a spun piston rod bearing and tore the engine apart, which was a very expensive rebuild. Fortunately, I had a warranty. I took very good care of that car. And after the repair, I decided I didn't trust it anymore. I didn't want to deal with the headache, so I sold it to the dealership that did the repair. Thank you, Flatiron Subaru. I hope they sold it to somebody who would love it, but I digress. I was shopping around and just could not find just the right replacement that I wanted for it. And there's just nothing out there that was reasonably priced that had a 6-speed manual transmission and the features I was looking for. So that's how I got into this. More on that later.